In Umuzu, the sun did not rush to rise. It climbed slowly from behind the hills, stretching long fingers of light across the farmlands until the red earth glowed like fire. Smoke curled from clay hearths, the smell of yam porridge drifted through courtyards, and roosters strutted proudly, announcing a new day. In the compound of Papa Ejiofor, a boy named Ikena sat cross-legged on the bare ground, his eyes fixed on an empty calabash. His mother had sent him to fetch water, but instead of hurrying off to the stream, he was thinking, turning the round gourd this way and that, as if it held secrets. His mother's voice shattered the morning calm. Ikena. Will that calabash sprout legs and walk to the stream by itself? Or are you waiting for the water to come to you? The boy looked up, smiling mischievously. Mama, water always runs to the lowest place. Why can't we just dig a big hole here and wait for it to come? The women pounding cassava nearby laughed, shaking their heads. This boy, one of them said. He twists words like a rope maker. Always asking questions nobody can answer. Indeed, Ikena was different from other boys his age. While they wrestled in the dust or chased goats through the village square, he spent his time following ants to see where they disappeared, asking why the moon sometimes hid its face, or testing which kind of stick floated faster on the stream. Even the elders had noticed. One evening, when men sat under the Iroko tree drinking palm wine, Papa Ejiofor sighed. My son has a restless tongue. He asks questions even the ancestors might find difficult. An elder chuckled, lifting his calabash of wine. Ejiofor, a child who asks questions is better than a child who never listens. The ear that hears will not miss the way to the market. But others worried. Too much questioning can make a child disrespectful, one muttered. The truth about Ikena's gift would soon be tested. One morning, a town crier struck his gong at the village square. Come. 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 All elders, all men, all who have sense, gather before the chief. The whole of Umuzu buzzed with whispers. By midday, the square was packed. Warriors leaned on their spears, hunters rested their bows, women with baskets on their heads paused to listen, and children clung to their mothers' wrappers. The chief, a tall man with a leopard skin across his shoulder, stepped forward. His voice carried weight like a drumbeat. Our neighbors in Tage have sent us a challenge, he announced. They say if we cannot solve their riddle within 7 days, we must pay them tribute, 20 baskets of yam. Gasps rose from the crowd. Tribute was shameful. Tribute meant weakness. The chief lifted a carved staff and spoke the riddle slowly, as if tasting each word. What is the thing that speaks without a mouth, moves without legs, and dies when caged? Murmurs spread like ripples on water. The hunters scratched their beards. Could it be the shadow? One asked. No, a shadow has no voice, another argued. The farmers shook their heads. Maybe it is fire, one said. It moves, it roars, and if you cover it, it dies. But another farmer laughed. Oh, fire has a mouth. Look at the way it eats wood. Even the herbalists muttered incantations, calling on spirits to whisper the answer. But none came. As the sun sank, worry deepened. The chief's face was clouded. If we fail, we will bow our heads before Tage. Our children will grow ashamed. At the edge of the crowd, Ikena had been listening. His heart beat fast. The words of the riddle swirled in his mind. Speaks without a mouth, moves without legs, dies when caged. At last, he stepped forward timidly. Father, may I try? The crowd erupted in laughter. "You, a mere boy," shouted one man. "Go back to your mother's kitchen," said another. But the chief raised his hand for silence. His eyes narrowed, studying his son. "Speak then, Akena. If you shame yourself, you shame only your tongue. If you are right, you save your people." Akena swallowed hard. Then, with a steady voice, he said, "It is the wind. The wind speaks in the trees, it moves without legs, but once you cage it, it dies." For a moment, silence hung like a drum waiting to be struck. Then the elders gasped. The women clapped their hands. The men roared approval. "By the gods," one elder exclaimed. "The boy is right." "Yes, it is the wind," shouted another. "Only wisdom sharp as a razor could see it." The chief's stern face broke into a proud smile. He lifted Ikena high for all to see. "Umuzu will pay no tribute. The boy has saved us." The square thundered with cheers. That night, the village feasted. Goats were slaughtered, drums beat until the moon was tired, and dancers whirled like flames. But for Ikena, something more important had changed. No longer did people mock his questions. Instead, they began to call him Oni Uche, the one with wisdom. Still, as the elders say, wisdom is like a river, it flows further when tested by rocks. And the greatest test of Ikena's cleverness was still to come. The Harmattan winds had come to Umuzu. Dust lay thick on the roofs, goats coughed in the evening air, and the night sky glittered with cold stars. People huddled close to their fires, telling folk tales, while children's laughter echoed through compounds. It was during this season that a stranger entered the village. He was a merchant, tall and smooth-tongued, with a smile as bright as cowrie shells. He carried a large sack on his back, and inside were beads that shone like the morning sun, brass rings, small mirrors that made children squeal with delight, and cloth so bright that even the wives of elders gasped. But hidden deep in that sack was something else, something dangerous, a set of enchanted talking drums. The merchant was clever, but his cleverness was poisoned by greed. He had traveled far, learning tricks in distant lands, and now he planned to use the drums to sow confusion, then sell them to Umuzu's enemies for profit. One moonlit night, while the village slept, the merchant crept into the forest. He set down one of the drums and began to beat it in a strange rhythm. The sound carried far, like the cry of a spirit. "The chief of Umuzu is dead. The throne is empty." The next morning, chaos erupted. Women shrieked, tearing their wrappers. Warriors sharpened their spears, ready for battle. Old men wailed, already imagining the fall of their village. The chief himself, alive and strong, stormed into the square. "Who dares spread this lie?" he thundered, his leopard skin cloak swaying with his rage. But no one knew. That evening, the chief summoned his council. They sat on carved stools, their faces grave. "If such lies continue," one elder said, "our people will lose trust in us. Enemies will smell our fear." Another muttered darkly, "A lie can travel faster than truth. By the time truth catches it, a village may already burn." Among those listening at the edge of the gathering was Ikena. His mind, always turning, recalled the strange merchant he had seen slipping into the forest the night before. He remembered the bulging sack that never left his side. His thoughts ticked like the beating of a drum. "I must watch him," Ikena whispered to himself. The next night, when the moon hung like a polished calabash in the sky, Ikena followed the merchant. Quiet as a hunting cat, he moved behind the tall elephant grass. The merchant knelt, pulled out one of the drums, and beat it. This time the sound was louder, crueler. The warriors of Umuzu are cowards. They fear their neighbors. Akena's eyes widened. Oh, he thought, so this is the source of our troubles. But instead of running to the chief at once, Akena crouched in the shadows, thinking carefully. He knew that accusing the stranger without proof would only bring laughter. After all, he was still just a boy in the eyes of many. A clever lizard drinks water from the river without making ripples, he remembered his grandfather saying. He would need both wisdom and patience. The next morning, Akena gathered a small group of friends. Chika, Obi, Ngozi, he whispered, will you help me save Umuzu? They nodded eagerly, though their eyes were wide with fear. Akena explained his plan. That evening, while the merchant feasted in the square, they would slip into his hut. The merchant's hut smelled of foreign spices and dried hides. His great sack sat in the corner, guarded by nothing but shadows. The children crept in, hearts pounding like drums in their chests. With trembling hands, they opened it. Inside, they found the enchanted drums, carved with strange markings. Quickly, they switched them with ordinary drums from the village square, drums used for festivals and dances. Then they slipped out, leaving everything else untouched. That night, the merchant returned to the forest, full of pride. He set down a drum and began to play, eager to spread more lies. The land of Umuzu will fall. Its people are divided. But this time, nothing happened. The sound was flat, empty, ordinary. Birds scattered from the trees, but no message traveled, no fear spread. The merchant frowned. He tried again, harder this time, sweat dripping down his forehead. Still nothing. Confused and desperate, he beat the drum until his hands ached. That was when the chief, the elders, and the warriors, guided secretly by Akena, burst into the clearing. Torches lit up the night, spears gleamed like fireflies, and the chief's voice thundered. So it is you, stranger. You who planted fear among us. The merchant fell to his knees, stammering. Mercy. It was only trade, only a trick. But the people roared in anger. Some wanted to strike him down, others wanted him driven from the land. Akena stepped forward. Though small, he stood tall before the crowd. His voice was steady. He used drums that carry false words. I saw him. I changed them so his lies would fail. The chief laid a heavy hand on his son's shoulder. His eyes softened with pride. Young as you are, you saved the Muzu from ruin. Strength may win a battle, but wisdom wins a war. The merchant was banished, his sack burned, the ashes scattered into the river so no one would ever use them again. That night, the people of Umuzu danced again, but this time, their drums spoke only truth, only joy. Women swayed with calabashes on their heads, men leapt high into the air, and children clapped until their hands ached. From that day on, Akena was no longer just Oni Uche, the boy with wisdom. He was now called Om Uche, the one who not only has wisdom but knows how to use it. And whenever children sat wide-eyed around the fires at night, their parents would point to him and say, Remember, my children, muscles may lift a stone, but it is the mind that lifts a people.